Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Very Cold Lasagna, your filthy casual space for all the most filthy casual takes on the world of pro wrestling and sports. I am your host, DylanLasagna. Thank you for tuning in wherever you're getting your podcast, wherever it may be, or you're watching this on YouTube. And welcome to episode number 116 of this filthy casual sports show, and we got a lot to talk about here in this episode. Of course, if you're looking for football talk, that's exclusively on the YouTube channel. I talked about my week 1 picks for the 2022 NFL season on the Very Cold Lasagna YouTube channel. My picks for the very first week of the 2022 season. It's on the YouTube channel. Go check it out. Go watch it. Go debate it. Try to refute it as much as you can. It's only week 1, okay? But here in this podcast episode, we got more things to discuss about professional wrestling, because it was a big weekend of wrestling, and it ended up being a big week of wrestling overall. Mostly for the wrong reasons. In this particular case, we're going to be talking about All Elite Wrestling, AEW All Out. And they had a pay-per-view. Yes, AEW had a pay-per-view called All Out 2022. I mentioned before I went on vacation for the weekend last week, this could be AEW's worst pay-per-view yet, because the lack of build, the lack of stories, it's just the usual circus that AEW likes to put out on national television, on TBS, TNT, and for $50 on pay-per-view. So that's pretty much the sentiment I had, and pretty much a bunch of other people had, going into Sunday, September 4th on that Sunday night. So I'm not going to talk too much about what happened on most of the show. There was only like a few select things that I actually ended up honestly liking, but for the most part, it still ended up being the worst pay-per-view that AEW had. Before I get started with today's show, I do want to mention a couple of things. If you do hear a fan in the background, if you're watching this on YouTube, or if you're listening to this on audio, it's because it's so damn hot in California. It is 90 degrees where I live, and I need this fan. I desperately need this fan. It is so damn hot where I'm recording this, so I'm sorry. If you hear a fan in the background, I do apologize. It's just, I can't do this. I can't record in a conceivable manner without wasting my energy, wasting my ref, or having to stop without a fan, because it's just so damn hot. Trust me, I tried doing my picks the other day, recording my week 1 picks, and it was just so damn bad, without a fan. So I desperately needed one. So anyway, enough rambling. You know where to find the podcast. You know where to go on YouTube. Search up Very Cold Lasagna on your preferred platform, and follow the show on social media, on Twitter and Instagram at Very Cold Lasagna. And let's get this show on the road with AEW All Out. So we had a 0 hour, AEW 0 hour, not very memorable pre-show. Not a very memorable pre-show. You start off with the AAA World Mixed Tag Team Champion Sammy Guevara, and since when did Ty Conti start going by Tay Mello? I'm not sure where that started happening, but they beat Ortiz and Ruby Soho in a pretty unmemorable match. I do remember that Sammy and Tay almost killed Ruby Soho though, with a double team move, and Ruby landed neck first. So it's like, damn, what the hell are you doing? So then Hook, the FTW champion, I don't know what the hell that is still, beat Angelo Parker with the Taz mission, or whatever his finishing move is. So after the match, Angelo Parker, Matt Menard would go on to surround the ring, but Action Bronson, whoever that is, made the save. Moving on to the next match, Pac, aka Neville, from WWE, would retain his All-Atlantic Championship against Kip Sabian, who is doing this box gimmick. Yeah, I don't know. It's something that happened. And then in the main event of the pre-show, Eddie Kingston beat some guy that we're apparently supposed to know or respect, Tomohiro Ishii. Does any casual fan know who he is? Does any casual fan bother to care who Tomohiro Ishii is? I certainly don't. And neither should you. So going to the main card, we opened the show with the casino ladder match for the poker chip AEW World Title match. You had Cesaro, your Ring of Honor World Champion, Wheeler Utah Jazz, the Lucha Bros, Penta El Zero Miedo, and Rey Fenix, Rush, Andrade, Dante Martin, and then, of course, the Joker, whoever that was going to be. It was your typical circus match, your typical, let's do these big spots kind of ordeal. And towards the end of the match was what mattered most. The Joker came out, but prior to that, a bunch of henchmen, Retribution, I remember Retribution from the pandemic era of WWE. Retribution invaded AEW and started attacking all the competitors. Only this time, they got new members. Stokey Hathaway, Ethan Page, Lee Moriarty, the Gunn brothers, Colton and Austin Gunn, and Big Cass. Yes, Big Cass. Well, William Morrissey, whatever his name is now. They all attacked the competitors, and when the Joker came out, I think it was like to this theme song I listened to while doing Peloton. It was like at the very end of the cooldown. So Stokey Hathaway gave the Joker the poker chip, and he just won the match by doing absolutely nothing. I mean, the opener was fine for what it was. I mean, for most people, they already knew who it was going to be, and I'm pretty sure I already knew who it was, but we'll get to there in a second. So then we had the tournament final for the AEW World Trios Championship. I still don't know why we need more titles in AEW when you already have so many, especially when you bought Ring of Honor. So you had Kenny Omega and the Cucks of Suck, Matt and Nick Jackson, the Elite, going up against the Dork Order, Alex Reynolds and John Silver, and Hangman Adam Page. This was, again, your typical spot orgy, your typical circus match. Just like in the opener, you followed up with another circus match. But, you know, at least you had some interest. You at least had some interest in this match towards the end. I mean, yes, most of it was pretty boring, but at least you got a little bit of intrigue. You know, a lot of false finishes in this match. Kenny Omega got trapped by John Silver, but then when Adam Page went for the buckshot lariat, he accidentally hit Silver with the finisher when Kenny Omega ducked, and then I think one of the Cucks of Suck tackled Adam Page, and then Kenny Omega stole the win from the Dark Order. So, and the match was pretty whatever. I didn't really care, but I mean the finish was not that bad, to be honest with you. So next up we had the TBS Championship match between the champion Jade Cargill and Ember Moon, now known as Athena. Now this is kind of funny. Jade Cargill, apparently, you know, she took some of the comments, some of the complaints about how some of y'all think she's a Seattle Seahawk. I mean, you know, to some degree she is, and well, she literally took that to heart on Sunday night because, well, in the midst of She-Hulk Attorney at Law being on Disney Plus, well, she cosplayed as one. She literally cosplayed as one on Sunday night. So you gotta give her some credit. You gotta give Jade Cargill some credit for embracing the comments that some of y'all are doing in your reviews. So this was a fairly quick match. Jade pretty much dominated the entirety of this match, hit the Glam Slam on Ember Moon to retain her TBS title. And I gotta say, she is slowly and surely improving with each and every match that she's doing. She goes to 37-0, and at this rate, who's gonna stop her? Can she be stopped? Should she be stopped? I don't know. Next up, we had another trios match, the second of 3 in the night. Like, there were literally 15 matches on this card. Like, no need to be. And more boringness. The Wardlow and Dax Hardwood and Cash Wheeler of FTR. Yeah, this is the best that you can do with them. Going up against Jay Lethal and the Motor City Machine Guns, Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin. Yes, it's TNA 2010 all over again in 2022. Oh yeah, baby. We got to make AEW 2010 TNA, baby. Oh man. This is just like so weird. This is so weird seeing like the Motor City Machine Guns pretty much being brought in to make AEW TNA. So anyway, this was a pretty boring match. Nothing substance happened other than, you know, AEW trying to have their own Nicholas moment. And what am my Nicholas moment? Well, Dax Hardwood brought out his young daughter. It's kind of whatever. So you don't remember from WrestleMania 34 when Braun Strowman picked a kid out of the crowd named Nicholas for a Raw Tag Team Championship match between, I think it was like Cesaro and Sheamus, and they actually won that match? Well, this time around, Dax Hardwood brought his young daughter out, and they surround Wardlow and FTR surround the ring so they can like have his young daughter like beat up on Jade Lethal's manager or something. So that was the thing that happened post match. Like, you could have just had that segment rather than the entire 6-man tag team ordeal. You didn't need to do all that like before that. You could have just had that post match moment, and that could have been it. So anyway, Ricky Starks lost to Powerhouse Hobbs. With all the building up, the hyping up that they've been doing for Ricky Starks, he just gets ass whooped by Powerhouse Hobbs. So whatever. Now, a match that I was mostly looking forward to throughout the night was the Acclaimed, Max Caster and Anthony Bowens, finally getting their rightfully deserved shot at the AEW World Tag Team Championships. Because if you ever watch the Acclaimed, if you ever listen to their raps, and sure, some of you could say, oh, they're just ripping off John Cena's Doctor of Thugonomics gimmick. What you can at least say about the Acclaimed is that they're at least taking that gimmick and making it fresh. Like, at least Max Caster is freestyling it. And yeah, the Sister Me stuff, all this is kind of cringe, but it's at some points it's also kind of funny. You gotta admit a little bit. So the rap in Chicago, the one they did at All Out, was kind of weak, but the Chicago crowd really wanted the Acclaim to win. And of course, going into it, I did too. This is the point where Tony Khan should have called an audible. He should have seen he should have seen throughout this match, how the Acclaim was so hot, how the crowd really wanted them to win. How how Anthony Bowens was fighting through this knee injury, how Max Caster was getting the hot tag, and how Swerve Strickland or whatever his name is and Keith Lee were just beating down on the Acclaimed and being heels, even though they were pretty much baby faces. They were slowly transitioning to heels. Tony Khan should have let them, the Acclaimed, be the tag team champions. Climax on this story, capitalize on the crowd. So I don't know why you had this really good match, probably the only tag team title match or tag team match overall I enjoyed from AEW, and then you let the wrong team win. You let Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland retain the titles. So the Acclaimed really arrived that night. They most definitely did. But did they really? It's they could have definitely arrived fully if Tony Khan let them. But fortunately for them, they're getting a rematch at Grand Slam Maybe Tony Khan wants them to win the titles on nationally televised free TV and on their turf, in what is it, Arthur Ashe, New York, or like somewhere like in the outer skirts of New York, on their turf. I don't know, but like whether that crowd for Grand Slam is hotter. I mean, of course it will, because it will be a smarky crowd. We'll see. But that night at least should have belonged to the Acclaimed. It should have been their night that they truly arrived in AEW, even if it was just transitional. So then you had the interim AEW Women's Championship tournament. Might as well just crowned permanent AEW Women's Champion, because, well, apparently Thunder Rosa can't carry the company. She can't, because it was only 4 months into her reign and she already got injured. So Toni Storm beat Dr. Britt Baker, the MD, Jamie Hayter, Hikaru Shida, and apparently there's some dissension going on between Baker and Jamie Hayter. So who knows? Maybe we'll eventually get a feud between the two. But man, soon it kind of, I don't know. I kind of feel bad for Toni Storm. I don't know. Not really. Because as soon as she knocked out both Dr. Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter, it was like, and she won the title, it's like the arena just deflated. The arena just went, like, felt like bye-bye. It was just, they did not feel like as pleased as they thought they would with Toni Storm winning, having that career-defining moment for her. So, yeah, Toni Storm's your interim AEW Women's Champion until Thunder Rosa comes back whenever. So next up, we had the shortest match of the night, Jungle Boy against Christian. For as personal as the video package showed, yeah, shortest match of the night. That was because Luchasaurus, Jungle Boy's partner, supposedly attacked him, turned on him, and yeah, he brutalized him, and that allowed Christian to quickly win the match with the spear and the kill switch. So Christian was like, "Yeah, you want to brutalize me? You want to kick my ass? Yeah, no, you're not gonna do that to me, man. I'm gonna kick your ass, but not in the way you expect." So next up, we had Bryan Danielson, going up against Lionheart, Chris Jericho. No, Daniel Bryan doesn't want the sports entertainer Chris Jericho. He wants the pro wrestler, Lionheart Chris Jericho, even though pro wrestling is the same as sports entertainment. It's just a fancy term Vince McMahon came up with. They're literally exactly the same thing. Why do we still have this debate? I don't understand it. So anyway, Jericho comes out to this random song to match his Lionheart thing. Daniel Bryan's entrance was cringe. I'm sorry. The guy singing his theme song, it sounded like auto-tune. He was auto-tuning live. It was like he was lip syncing. Like, I'm sorry. It was just bad. So for the match itself, just like with the rest of the night, I was bored. I was literally asleep. It was slow. Daniel Bryan was trying to carry Jericho through this match, but it just wasn't working. This was painfully long for the sake of being long as hell. It was just like amateur wrestling. It really was, when it didn't need to be. And Chris Jericho won a painfully long match, dick kicking Daniel Bryan, hitting the Judas effect, ending our misery. And then the match before the main event, the House of Black, Malachi Black, aka Aleister Black, Brody King, and Buddy Matthews faced off against Darby Allin, Sting, and Rusev, aka Miro. The babyfaces, Miro, Darby Allin, and Sting, went on to win this match after Sting spat out some cum. Just kidding. Some black mist, even though it didn't look that way initially on the live feed, but in replays, he actually did spit out some black mist on Aleister Black. So yeah, the babyfaces win this solid match. It actually was an okay match. It's just I didn't really care for it too much. And apparently this might have been Aleister Black's last match in AEW. I mean, he did get a conditional release from the company, but who knows if he'll be back. Then, of course, we had the main event, the match that everyone was looking forward to. Jon Moxley defending his championship just literally 2 weeks after he got it against CM Punk. CM Punk, literally tried to end it quickly like Jon Moxley did in Cleveland 2 weeks ago. Moxley kicked out of an early go to sleep. Punk ended up getting busted open, and then that significantly turned the tide for Jon Moxley. And then after a long back and forth match, I mean, it was a solid match, don't get me wrong. CM Punk hit 2 go to sleeps to win the match and win the world title. The crowd was pretty mixed for Moxley and Punk. And considering that it was Punk's hometown of Chicago, yeah, that was surprising. Now, I mean, I didn't mind the match. I didn't mind the world title match itself, but I'm just questioning why it needed to happen in the first place. Because you had the squash match by Moxley 2 weeks ago. So it's like, what was really the point of this rematch itself? It was a really dumb decision. It really was. To have Jon Moxley face Punk again in a rematch that we all knew what was going to happen. We really knew what was going to happen. It's like Jon Moxley squashes CM Punk. And CM Punk looked like he was legitimately hurt. And then, of course, turn around 2 weeks later, CM Punk shows no signs of injury at All Out. This is really pointless. This is a really pointless matchup. And then, of course, emphasizing how pointless this match really was the fact that afterwards, this video package plays. Tony Khan apparently is in a voicemail telling him, if you come back at All Out, we'll pay you this X amount of dollars, and we'll guarantee you'll be in the AEW casino ladder match for a world title shot. And then, of course, it was revealed that the Joker was none other than Maxwell Jacob Friedman, MJF. So I was happy that MJF was back, was the Joker. It's just that, man, that completely overshadowed what just went on with the main event. And the crowd was pretty much pro MJF in Chicago. Man. That's stunning. They pretty much didn't care for Punk at that point. They did not care for Punk, and they pretty much turned the tide in favor of MJF. He got a hero's welcome. Literally. He literally did. So they end the show with MJF. He's signaling he wants the world title. Punk is holding it up like Rocky. And that's where they end the show. So initially, overall, my thoughts on the show was it still remained the worst show AEW has done because, there's no build to it. And the action that we did get was a long, boring slog, aside from the tag team title match, which I thought, despite, not too much of a build, they managed to tell a solid story and produce probably their only good tag team match in their history, and a world title match that was solid itself, but the eventual return of MJF pretty much overshadowed CM Punk winning the title. So it was at the point, you got to turn CM Punk heel. You had to turn heel. So my reservation still stands that All Out is the worst show in their history because the lack of build really hurt them. It was just their solidification that they're a circus. They want to showcase a circus act for $50 with 15 matches. They're just lucky that they didn't go past the 7-hour mark like WrestleMania did a couple years ago. So, yeah, this is a very bad show that was only saved from like worse, like very, very worse by 2 matches. But then the circus act didn't stop there. The circus act didn't stop there. Because there was the post-show media scrum. There was the post-show media scrum, and then everything that the fans had thought about AEW, at least some of them, at least, that some fans had thought about AEW, like they were praising AEW to death. They were giving them the get on your knees and you do the what. And saying all these good things about CM Punk, the Elite, Tony Khan. Yeah, all that was pretty much deleted, erased in the post-show media scrum, because what ended up happening there was pretty much disaster. It was disaster, man. It was embarrassing, like, to see what happened to this. Like, I will say this right now. What ended up happening in that media scrum on Sunday night, if an NFL player did that, or let's say Antonio Brown, like one of the most like controversial NFL players, talented receiver, controversial player. If Antonio Brown did that at a press conference, well, he did get released for his on-field antics. But if CM Punk did that on an NFL team, he would instantly get released. He would instantly get released. So what CM Punk did during the media scrum was that someone asked him, or what? No, it was not even when someone asked him a question. It was like, he was already blasting the wrestling journalists. He like when no one even asked him a question yet, and when the first guy, I think it was like Nick Colston or whatever his name was of Wrestling Inc. And CM Punk already blasted him like, "Oh, are you friends with Scott Colston or aka Colt Cabana?" And I was like, "Yes, I'm friends with Scott Colston." And he went on this unrelated tirade on Scott Colston or Colt Cabana, how they weren't friends for the last decade, and how they having legal issues. Pretty much like what happened with the lawsuit between him, Colt Cabana, in the WWE when Punk walked out in 2014, and their own lawsuit between the two during that time. So what was the intention of like bringing up these past issues to light? Like why bring that up now? And then he went on to blast the executive vice president of the company during his tirade as well, during his emotionally like heated tirade. Kenny Omega and the Cuxas suck for not knowing how to run a business. I mean, I kind of agree with that part, but it's the way he did it. It's the way he did it that turned me off. And he also brought his current issues to with Hangman Adam Page to light, and how Adam Page went to business with himself a couple months ago during the go home show for Dynamite, I believe it was, in that promo. Yeah, this is just a recipe like for disaster. And all this is while this was happening, Tony Khan was sitting right next to him, helplessly sitting there, sipping his coffee very nervously. Like, if you watch that media scrum, he was instantly regretting having CM Punk speak on the mic, and maybe in general, like having him there or doing this media scrum. So this is what he said in full.
It's 2022. I haven't been friends with this guy since at least 2014, late 2013. And the fact that I have to sit up here because we have irresponsible people who call themselves EVPs and couldn't fucking manage a target, and they spread lies and bullshit and put into a media that I got somebody fired when I have fuck all to do with him, want nothing to do with him, do not care where he works, where he doesn't work, where he eats, where he sleeps. And the fact that I have to get up here and do this in 2022 is fucking embarrassing.
Why even bring it up in the first place? Why even bring that up in the first place? Like, why? of course, like, why is the reporter bringing that up, or why is CM Punk bringing that up to the reporter, and why is the reporter responding to that? It's like, it's stupid. It's really stupid.
And if y'all are at fault, fuck you. If you're not, I apologize. But what did I ever do in this world to deserve an empty-headed, fucking dumb fuck like Hangman Adam Page to go out on national television and fucking go into business for himself? For what? What did I do, Dave? What did I ever do? You told me. Didn't do a goddamn thing.
I mean, yeah, to be fair, Adam Page was kind of stupid to do that, but at the same time, he's just standing up for the locker room, but maybe in the wrong way, because CM Punk is definitely a mark for himself. He thinks he knows, above all, how to run a wrestling business when he clearly doesn't. And what did he ever do? Didn't do a damn thing. So CM Punk's kind of like a hypocrite. CM Punk, like, he believes that he was in the wrong, but when something bad happens to him, I don't know. He just like, he believes that justice should be served. That's what we're getting at here. And then he goes on to claim that he runs the show in AEW.
It's not his position to make it very fucking clear. There's people who call themselves EVPs that should have fucking known better. This shit was none of their business. I understand sticking up for your fucking friends. I fucking get it. I stuck up for that guy more than anybody. Okay? I paid his bills until I didn't, and it was my decision not to.
Yeah, but I shouldn't have no commented when Nick first said it. It's my fault, and if I hadn't, it's my fault. It's my
I appreciate
fault. I should have just taken a head on because you
But
never
I'm
said
trying to
anything.
run a fucking business, and when somebody who hasn't done a damn thing in this business jeopardizes the first $1 million house that this company has ever drawn off of my back and goes on national television and does that, it's a disgrace to this industry, it's a disgrace to this company. Now, we're far beyond apologies, right? I gave him a fucking chance. It did not get handled, and you saw what I had to do, which was very regrettable, lowering myself to his fucking level. But that's where we're at right now. And I will still walk up and down this hallway and say, if you have a fucking problem with me, take it up with me. Let's fucking go.
It's just a mess to even try to dissect this thing. It really is. So pretty much what happens after this, mess of a media scrum, was that immediately after Punk finished talking with the media, the Cucks that Suck went to his locker room, and so did Kenny Omega, and they got into a big time fight. They actually got physical. This was like no work to shoot or anything. And stop saying it's like, for all of you like wondering that it's a work, it's not, people. It really isn't. If it was a work, then why aren't the Cucks of Suck on TV? Why isn't Kenny Omega on TV? Where's CM Punk? So they get into this big time, well, apparently from the dirt sheets, they get into this big time fight backstage. Apparently from what I read, CM Punk demanded answers on like why he believes that the EVPs, the elite, are trying to ruin him as a babyface, or trying to throw him under the bus. Well, of course, the elite were trying to get some answers from Punk for his comments, and they thought the best way was to get physical, which, in my opinion, is of course not the right way to handle it either. You gotta figure out how to do this civilly, but of course, when you're run by a bunch of marks, when your company run by a bunch of marks like AEW is, it doesn't really help matters. So they get into this fight. Apparently, a lot of conflicting details have come out. A lot of conflicting accounts, like a chair was thrown into Nick Jackson's face. Someone got a black eye. They were trying to get CM Punk's dog out of the locker room. I think it was Pat Buck or somebody CM Punk's trainer bit Kenny Omega. It was a big mess. It was reportedly a big mess in the hours that followed All Out. So in the days that followed, CM Punk got suspended. The Elite got suspended. I think Punk's trainer also got suspended. And then a couple days ago on Dynamite, Tony Khan, man, rather than address the audience live in person, he made a pre-taped promo, a pre-taped vignette, and the Buffalo crowd hated him for that fact. They booed him, and he stripped CM Punk. While not directly by name, he stripped CM Punk. He stripped the Elite of the AEW World Title and the AEW Trios title. And like, man, what a way to like pretty much destroy the credibility of those titles. Like, especially the Trios title instantly. Like, my God. Like, AEW is in a very, very bad place. Like, as much as I crap on AEW, like for being a nationally televised circus and a joke of a wrestling organization, they do provide like a few positives, like the Acclaimed, MJF, Jamie Hayter. They do provide some things that WWE doesn't. Like, it's just that they don't care about criticism. They don't care about appealing to the casuals, and they're run by people, like I said, that don't give a shit about criticism. Adam Page even said that himself. And look where you are now. Look where you are now. You're like in a big time mess. You are in a big time mess, and there's nobody to blame but the Elite, CM Punk, and especially Tony Khan. They're running this as poorly as the Tony Khan does with the Jacksonville Jaguars. And probably even like the Washington Commanders. This is embarrassing. This is absolutely embarrassing. And even it's like, I don't want to see I don't want to see like an embarrassing downfall of AEW, like just like that. But they're doing this to themselves. They're doing this to themselves. And Wednesday night on Dynamite was honestly the first show I actually, wanted to catch because of like all out going all out for the wrong reasons. It piqued my interest. And it was after the MJF stuff happened, it was more of the same. It was honestly more of the same. MJF cut this promo, appeased the Buffalo fans, even wearing a Josh Allen jersey, cutting this really like weird babyface promo, and you may thought it was too good to be true. He's trying to be that locker room leader, but then as soon as Jon Moxley comes out, he calls him for his bullshit, and then that's when we get the real MJF back. And then he wipes his ass with the Josh Allen jersey. I love that part. And then he goes back to his old MJF ways, calling the crowd's marks, calling the fans marks again, and then referring to Triple H, Cody Rhodes, the WWE, playing up the storyline of possibly leaving in 2024 again. So yeah, MJF is like one of the only good thing, like he despite like all this uncertainty, like of this possibly being work for MJF, like he's one of the only genuinely good things, aside of course the Acclaimed, that AEW has going for it. So for AEW, they're doing this tournament to crown a new permanent world champion while CM Punk is suspended. It's not interim, but they stripped him of the title. So they have this tournament going on, and it's just embarrassing. It's just embarrassing that it even had to come to this point. And now CM Punk legitimately got hurt too. So he's out 8 to 9 months with a tricep, what apparently is a tricep tear. And does AEW, does the locker room even want him back? Does the locker room even want him back after what he said? And yeah, there are some people that say, oh, this is going to die down. And yeah, it certainly will. But you shouldn't forget. You can forgive, but you shouldn't forget. And some people are really hard to forget. They really are. Just ask CM Punk himself. Just ask him. He's really hard to forgive, and he doesn't forget. So overall, AEW did go all out, and they went all out, but they did it for all the wrong reasons. And 2022 is definitely their worst year. It's definitely their worst year by far. And you can say that about 2021, 2020, but I think this year and what All Out ended up being, I mean, the pay-per-view itself was garbage, but what followed afterwards was just a mess of itself. It was just embarrassing. It really was. And of course, I don't want to pray for the immediate downfall of AEW, but it's just like they got to get their shit together. They have to get their shit together. And yes, there's still a televised indie fed, a televised circus in my eyes. But if they want to survive, if they want Discovery to even let them stay alive in this thing, they need a leader. Tony Khan's not that leader. Neither's the Elite. Neither's CM Punk. Some people are saying that if they fire CM Punk, if they fire the Elite, AEW's done. False. They got Heyman and Page. They got MJF. The Acclaimed are rising up to be a slow but sure mainstream casual act. I mean, I'm maybe delusional, but they're slowly getting there. If they promote them better. But AEW, they better get their shit together. Otherwise, we can be talking about their downfall, just like WCW and maybe even TNA. So, what do you guys think about AEW All Out? What do you guys think about the interesting events that happened afterwards? I mean, that's pretty much all everyone's talking about with AEW. Everything's still pending investigation with CM Punk and the Elite. But I'll personally keep you updated with how that's going when more shit comes up, probably on the YouTube channel. So we'll see how that goes. But for now, thank you for tuning in to this episode of Very Cold Lasagna. I am your host, DylanLasagna. Thank you for tuning in to this fine episode number 115 of the podcast. And make sure you listen to it wherever you get your podcast. And if you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe, turn on that notification bell, and follow the show on social media, on Twitter and Instagram at Very Cold Lasagna. And keep that lasagna very cold in the fridge. Your takes on the world of pro wrestling and sports. And until next time, peace out.